Okay, guys, one of the strategies for creating an effective and engaging ending to your narrative is to remind your readers about something that you mentioned in your lead or near the beginning of your narrative. By doing this, you are creating what is called cohesion. Cohesion makes the reader feel like all of your ideas flow together and are purposeful. Let's take a look at how Kevin Honeycutt created cohesion in The Wiffle Bat by reviewing his lead in. It looks like he's used a reflective lead here. Part of the lead's appeal is the fact that he ends it with something unexpected. These kids are using a wiffle bat to fend off something dangerous. Now, throughout the story, we learn that the kids literally use this wiffle bat to attack an intruder. So you see over here, Kevin Honeycutt could have ended his narrative right here with this paragraph. He's done telling about the events that happened with the wiffle bat. He explains his response. He even uses a simile here to help us picture the scene. But instead of ending it there, Kevin used the strategy of reminding the reader about something in his hook. So let's read the ending. He says, I might not have realized it at the time, but this was a great lesson on the importance of teamwork. We had a common goal, and everyone was an active participant in the endeavor. I also learned to attack every project or problem with passion, using all available resources, even if all I have is a wiffle bat. So he mentions using the wiffle bat again, but this time it's more like a metaphor. He doesn't literally mean we should physically attack or fight problems with a wiffle bat. Instead, he means that our wiffle bat should be our passion and our willingness to solve the problems in our life. By including another detail about the wiffle bat and making it meaningful by turning it into a metaphor, Kevin gives us a satisfying ending. He leaves us thinking, man, I need a wiffle bat in my life, or at least the passion and determination to fight my problems like he and his siblings did. Let's take a look at another example, one that we briefly discussed before from Why Couldn't I Have Been Named Ashley? In this lead, the author uses dialogue to show how much she dislikes her name. The audience gets the feeling right from the very beginning that she's annoyed or even embarrassed by her name when she states it at the end of the lead. The tone, and this tone continues throughout most of the story. So, right here at the end of her lead, when she says, I was the first American born Nigerian in both of my parents' families. I was my parents' first joy, and in their joy, they gave me the name that would haunt me for the rest of my life. So she uses the word haunt, right, to show us that she's disappointed in her name and she doesn't love it. However, if we go down to the end of the narrative, you can see that she decides to state her name again over and over, just like she did at the beginning. Except this time, you can tell that her tone has changed. She seems proud and even has a deep respect for her name by the ending. By repeating these same words over and over again, right? Repeating her name, she helps us as readers come to the same conclusion that she did. Family names and legacies are something that we should be proud of. We feel satisfied with the ending of her story because she learned something about herself, and that helps us think that we can learn something about ourselves too if we dig deeply enough. Let's look at one final example. I want to show you this narrative because it's a great example of how students just like you can effectively incorporate this writing strategy into your own narrative. Last year, this student wrote a narrative about overcoming her fears. If you take a look here, she actually started her narrative with this paragraph, with this opening. She said, I used to be afraid to try new things. I was afraid of what people would think of me or what I would think of myself. I am my biggest enemy, and I've known that since I was very young, specifically in the second grade. So she goes on to talk about this time that she was in a musical. And I don't know about you, but after we learned about leads, she changed her lead. And I think that this one is so much more engaging. So let's take a really quick look at that. She says, blinding lights flashing, crowds cheering, music blaring. Then Silence. It's my cue. I walk out on the stage with my heart pounding out of my chest. I smell the musty of the stage. Wait, I smell of the musty stage making my head sore. Though I look composed, I'm ecstatic to be on stage again. It seemed like ages since I've done this, even though it's only been a year. Under my costumes, beads of sweat are running down me like rain, but I don't mind. That is the performing life. I look around the stage, catching glimpses of my fellow drama friends behind the stage, lighting up the room even more than the stage lights with their supporting smiles. This fills me up more than a whole Thanksgiving meal can. I look around at the crowd. Though only silhouettes of people, I can feel the praise of my family as if they were whispering in my ear. The music starts again, catching me by surprise, but still, my face is composed. It's getting to the part where I sing. I get all the emotion I can and gather it up in me, ready. I count in my head 3, 2, 1. Then she says, I used to be afraid to try new things. So this lead in is much more engaging, in my opinion, than her original. She goes on to talk about her musical and how she overcame her fear. And you can see at the end here, at first, she ended her narrative right here with this paragraph. She says, I could have easily declined the musical and did another elective, but something in me told me to follow through. I listened to my gut feeling, which was a good decision. I am still my biggest enemy, but I've learned to control those fearful inner thoughts that try to stop me from doing new things. It's okay, right? It's a pretty good ending. It's definitely a reflection, but it didn't seem very satisfying at first, right? Her lead in was so engaging because she talks about being on stage and how that felt. But after learning about narrative endings and what cohesion is, she decided to remind readers about her action packed and emotional hook. So she writes this. Now that I am unafraid, I can say confidently that I can look at those blinding lights. Remember the blinding lights from the beginning in her hook? That I can hear the crowds cheering and the music blaring. I can confidently count my 3, 2, 1. So she brings that hook back up that she put in the beginning. And I feel like this leads us to a much more satisfying close. So students just like you can do this. And I hope that this presentation has given you a good idea of what makes effective leads. And I hope that you're going to be able to revise your own ending to be effective.